Laura?
Yes.
Happy birthday,
Oh,
Sonny.
happy birthday.
We should all sing.
It's Sonny's birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday, Sonny.
Oh, happy
Thank
birthday.
you.
Happy birthday.
Let's sing. Let's sing to her.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get cut off. Rachel's going to cut you off. Although I hear a violin.
Violins have started.
Yes, well,
Yes, I remember.
yes. Or whatever. How many other people are here?
We're on page 128 because this prayer, this text really says it's so great that we're together. So if we're not on the same page together, then we got a big problem. So 128, join me, let's be together, Shabbat Shalom. Hine ma tov u'manayim, sheverachim gam yachad. 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 Hine ma tov u'manayim, sheverachim gam yachad.
Well, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I love this poem that I'm about to share by Rabbi Tova Leibovic Douglas. I changed it just a bit for this Shabbat, but I just love it because I think it speaks to what we can do with just this time. She says, "We are tired of the overthinking, overworking, overproducing, overdoing. We're longing to be, to feel that being overdoing. Once a week in this world, we get to imagine. Imagine as we look for the light to be the light." And I love this poem specifically for this Shabbat because we can just be. And we can also be in this way of looking for light and realizing that we have to be the light. That's the message of our Torah portion this week, Tsoc, that starts with the priests who are kindling the light of the menorahs, who are making sure that they're doing so eternally, that we have this eternal light, that we realize that we are not alone, and we realize that when we come together, we bring light to this world with each other. Doesn't that feel nice? We can imagine it and we can be it. And there is someone who brings such light to our community and has done so, well, really since I've been here, and probably a lot longer than that as well. And so I'll invite Jackie Gilson to come to the bima to kindle the light of Shabbat. It's on page 120. And when we think about the way that we bring light into this world, the way that we are the light in this world, is we see the places where there's any darkness and we bring more light. And that's what Jackie has helped us to do in so many ways, including in Feed the Hungry. So Jackie, thank you so much for bringing this light to the world and bringing this light on Shabbat.
ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
And the way in which we honor Shabbat is by making sure that we do a kiddush. Mazel tov, and thank you.
Shabbat shalom.
We do a kiddush, a kiddush, to help us to remember the way in which we're going to say that we're going to separate this day. We're going to make it holy and honor Shabbat. And we're going to sweeten the deal with a little fruit of the vine. And we're going to do so this evening with Elliot Shear leading us in our kiddush. Page 123, in body and spirit we rise.
Start again. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen.
Amen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav
V'ratzavanu v'shabbat shacho v'abayanu yitkaranu zikaron l'maaseh Reishit Hiyu Yom Techila L'Mikrei Kodesh Zecher Et Mitzrayim Ivanu V'acharta Ivanu Kidashta Mikol Ha'amim V'Shabbat Kadshika V'Ahava V'Ratzon Kilanu Baruch atah Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen.
L'chaim.
Thank you so much, L'chaim.
Please be seated. I now get to invite up to join me on the bima Lucy Raya, or Raya Leona, along with Becca, Mark, and Eli. We get to give Lucy her Hebrew name. Hello. Shabbat shalom. Hi, Eli. It's nice to see you. Lucy Raya, or Raya Leona, we are so extraordinarily excited to be welcoming you into the Jewish people, which we do so in two ways. The first by bestowing you with a Hebrew name, and the second by giving you a very special blessing. The name Raya Leona, your beautiful Hebrew name, well, first of all, I'll say you're named after two of your grandmothers. And we're so honored to bring their presence into this moment and bring their presence into your life through your name. And we know that they, along with all of your ancestors, will be watching with you and guiding you as you go on your days. Your Hebrew name, Raya, means friend. And we know that you are going to be an extraordinary friend, an extraordinary builder of community to all who come across your path. You have the fortune of being born to two parents who are both doctors, who work in the same hospital together. And so we know that you come from a family of healers, a family of people who pour their care and their hearts out into this world. So we get to say, Ken shetikanes lebrit, ken tikanes letorah, lechuppah, ulema'asim tovim. Just as you have been welcomed into this covenant, we hope you will get to live a life full of learning, of beautiful relationships, and of good deeds. I'm going to invite our clergy team up now to share the threefold benediction with your whole family as we get to wrap you in this talit.
Ready? Here, why don't I just tuck it right in here? Oh, that's perfect. That's it. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah. No. You know what? We're just going to do it. Oh, that's so perfect and sweet.
And I'll
Thanks
say
for
that,
letting us know what you needed, too.
yes, Eli, your very loving and supportive older brother, is also a student here at GON, and we love getting to see him on Shabbat and getting to see him around the building every week.
Yevarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and protect you.
Yair Adonai panav elecha ve'chuneka.
May God's light shine upon you and be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha ve'yunecha. Shalom, shalom, shalom.
May you always be wrapped in the joy and spirit of this community. May you always sing along so beautifully with these prayers, and may you be held by a deep sense of peace. And together we say,
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Mazel
Mazel
tov.
tov.
Thank you, guys. Hi.
We continue now, page 138 with Lecha Dodi.
La 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 lecha dodi. La 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 likrat kala. La 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 pnei Shabbat. Pnei Shabbat nikamela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad. Ishmianu el hamyuchad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad. L'shemo tiferet v'litilai. Lai, 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 lecha dodi. Lai, 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 likrat kala. Lai, 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 pnei Shabbat. Pnei Shabbat nikamela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha. Ki makor ha'bracha. Merosh mikedem nesucha. Sof ma'aseh machashava tchila. Lai, 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 lecha dodi. Lai, 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 likrat kala. Lai, 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 pnei Shabbat. Pnei Shabbat nikamela. Hitoreri, hitoreri. Ki ba'orech u'mi'ori. Uri, uri, shir da'beri. Kevod Adonai, halayach nigla.
entrance.
גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך המוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה.
We remain standing if we're rising in any which way as we turn to page 146 for our Baruchu.
Lai, 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai.
Please be seated. We have a treat tonight because we're going to hear the way in which our Shema, our prayer for listening and appreciating the oneness of God, is really framed by two ways in which we can feel God's presence. Both ways are through love. One is to be able to feel God's eternal presence in this world and feel that love through the guidance of Torah. And the other is the way in which we bring more love into this world based on the way in which we feel that love. So in both ways tonight, we invite you to be able to feel that love in the sanctuary, in our homes, in our hearts.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו באורח ימינו חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגע יומם ולילה כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו לעולמם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. Shema, would you please rise, Yisrael? Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בעם בשבתך, בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Annette. We turn to page 158 for our song of redemption, Mi Chamocha.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש. נורא תהילות עושי פלא, נורא תהילות עושי פלא. מלכותך ראו בניך אלוקי הים לפני משה ומרים. זה ליאנו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
As we turn to the top of page 162, we think of these words from Abraham Joshua Heschel, that a thought has blown the marketplace away. There's a song on the wind and joy in the trees. Shabbat arrives in the world, scattering a song in the silence of the night. Eternity utters a day.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש.
We turn the page and rise for our Amidah, for our tefillah, our central prayer.
Ananana sifatai tiftach. Ananana ufi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Ananana Adonai. Ananana sifatai tiftach. Ananana ufi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Ananana Adonai. Ananana sifatai tiftach. Ananana ufi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mivi Geula Livnei V'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol Atah Rav Hoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofeh Cholim, U'Matir Asurim, U'Mekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar. Umido melach, melech mimit u'mechayeh, u'matzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman ata l'chayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, vayeh hakol. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kdoshim b'chol yom yahalucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el HaKadosh.
In these moments of silence, we reach for you, our God, from our quiet places. May we be still for a brief moment and listen. Let us stop the wheels of every day to be aware of this time, this moment, this Shabbat. Find the stillness of the sanctuary which the soul cherished. Renew the covenant of an ancient people. Quiet places balance our days, and they help us to find not just the heaviness of the world's demands, but the balance of peace. Quiet places and stillness, where we will hear our own best impulses speak. Quiet places and stillness, from which we will reach out to each other. We will find strength in silence, and with this silence we turn again to love, to listening, to courage, to peace. When you're finished with your own silent reflections, I invite you to be seated.
I'm in the middle of page 180. Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri, Vegoali. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable to you, O God. Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri, Vegoali, Vegoali.
In the heaviness of the world today, in our anxiety of what happens next, in the way in which we look to other places in this world, and then we look to our own neighborhoods, and we're scared, and we're worried, we're angry, and we're sad, and we're looking for strength, and we're looking for other ways of seeing hope in our world. I find myself worried about people saying, don't let the weight of the world hurt your own body. Maybe we can take just a moment just to even roll our shoulders for a moment. You know, just kind of like get them a little looser because we're all carrying so much. And it's in this way I want to offer this poem by Alden Salavi, where he is inviting us to think about each one of us, thinking about our own path toward healing. He says, strengthen me, Holy One, on my journey through this difficult time. Steady my steps on this path. Bring me through signposts of remedies and therapies and secure in your guidance as I face these challenges. You are my strength and my hope, the author of my healing, the world's healing. You are my promise and my courage, guiding all helpers as I move toward healing. Guard the encouragement of simple improvements, every day held in your loving concern. Make me your partner, divine physician, restoring me for your name's sake. If you are thinking of anyone who is in need of healing, here in far-flung places in your heart, I invite you to share their names.
My great-granddaughter, who's ill right now. Ken and Gloria Bassick.
Page 371.
Mishabeirach Avoteinu Makor HaBracha Limoteinu. May the source of strength שבראחימותינו מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Amen. I'm going to invite you all to rise, and I get the honor of inviting Felicia Zisselman to join us on the bima as we bestow her with a Hebrew name. Felicia, it is such a joy to be up here with you in this moment. As somebody who approached your Jewish journey with an incredibly open heart, with sincerity, with such thoughtfulness, which I think you approach your whole life with a lot of thoughtfulness, was the understanding I got from spending time with you. It was honestly a delight. Your Hebrew name that you've chosen is Aliza, which means happiness or joy. And it's such a fitting Hebrew name because it is such a joy, and there is so much happiness in welcoming you into the Jewish community. And I really say that with my full heart. So I get to ask you some questions, and we all get to bless you. Do you choose to enter the eternal covenant between God and the people Israel and to become a Jewish person of your own free will?
Yes.
Do you accept Judaism to the exclusion of all other religious faiths and practices?
Yes.
Do you pledge to bring a sense of loyalty, joy, and passion to Judaism and the Jewish people?
Yes.
Will you strive to establish a Jewish home, continue to strive to establish a Jewish home, and to participate actively in the life of the synagogue and the Jewish community?
Yes.
Do you commit to continually building a meaningful relationship with the Jewish people?
Yes.
And do you commit yourself to the ongoing pursuit of Torah and knowledge?
Yes.
You're like, amen, yay. So with those beautiful answers in mind, I get to hand you the Torah, and you'll lead us in the Shema. It may take a moment. I'm sorry I asked you to stand up so early. Got it.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Now we get to bless you with a three-part benediction. You're going to stay up here. Yes. I'm going to invite everybody, if you're comfortable, to raise your hands in blessing, as is our Temple Sholom tradition, to a welcome Aliza into the Jewish people.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and protect you.
Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May God's light shine upon you, and may God's light shine through you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May you always feel lifted by God's presence. May it bring you a deep sense of peace. And together we get to say, Amen.
Amen.
Mazel
Mazel
tov.
tov.
Mazel tov. Shabbat Shalom. I know that some of you are exhausted by conversations about the war in Israel and Gaza. And I know that you want your spiritual spaces, especially on Shabbat, to serve as a refuge from the world as it is. And I really, truly understand that. As witnesses to this horror-filled war, we are all emotionally spent. I promise you there will continue to be Friday nights where we don't talk about this conflict, so please keep coming back. And yet, I feel called to speak about it tonight. This moment of crisis feels particularly acute, and I worry that it may even be a tipping point in Jewish history. The book of Kohelet, or Ecclesiastes, tells us that there is a time for everything under the sun. There's a time for giving birth and a time for dying, a time for planting and a time for uprooting the planted. As Reformed Jews, we have determined that there are times to speak up loudly in support of Israel, and other times when we raise our voices in critique. Sometimes that support and critique happen in the same day, or even in the same breath, and even during a war. I believe that this is one of those times where those of us who care about Israel, because we care, should speak up now and critique the violence we are currently witnessing, because we care about maintaining a safe and secure home for the Jewish people and for the Palestinian people. This war is tragic for everyone involved. From the 1,200 innocent Israelis killed on October 7th, the 132 hostages held, and the thousands currently displaced in Israel, and also for the nearly 12,000 children killed in Gaza, the thousands more adults, and almost 2 million Gazans displaced from their homes. A concept that helps us name the experience of witnessing this war is called moral injury. The concept of moral injury was first named and studied by psychologists who worked with veterans returning home from wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. It describes a form of emotional and psychological harm that can befall anyone who takes part in or is witness to a war, and I'll share that definition with you now. Moral injury is when one feels that they have violated their conscience or moral compass when they take part in, witness, or fail to prevent an act that disobeys their own moral values or personal principles. I'll read that again. Moral injury is when one feels that they have violated their conscience or moral compass when they take part in, witness, or fail to prevent an act that disobeys their own moral values or principles. As American Jews, we have always held different and often contradicting opinions about what our relationship to Israel can and should be. We are not citizens of Israel or Gaza or the West Bank, and yet many of us are deeply enmeshed in these places. We have family and friends there, we have traveled there, lived there, learned there. And so I know that many of us have asked ourselves over the last few months, what is our role in this moment? And more importantly, what is our power? Where do we have power to speak out, to band together, to try to create influence, to work towards peace? As a person who has cared so deeply about Israel, I am afraid. First and foremost, I am afraid for the Palestinians and Israelis who are experiencing any kind of physical harm or loss or suffering in this terrible moment. But I am also afraid of the scale of moral injury and future moral outrage that our people will feel if the current government of Israel continues to make decisions beyond what is morally acceptable. I am deeply afraid of what will happen if the voices of those who do not have the best interest of the Jewish people at heart win out over those who are fighting for a better future. Looking back on this moment, I'm afraid of how we will feel if we have to ask ourselves, could we have said more? Should we have responded differently? Did we remain silent at our own moral peril? There are two reasons why I'm called to ask these questions in this moment. The first is the rapidly unfolding catastrophe in Rafah. Rafah is a town in southern Gaza where 1 million Palestinian civilians fled for safety when the war broke out. They are now living in tents with no direction to turn for safety or protection from this war. The New York Times has reported that Hamas leaders have stationed themselves in this area, using those 1 million civilians as a shield for their work and the hostages that they hold. Prime Minister Netanyahu keeps stating that the Israeli army is ready for an invasion, which would surely lead to another catastrophic loss of Palestinian life. The situation is horrifying. And it's true. We American Jews have not had to live next to Hamas for 17 years. We're privileged to not be in the position of having to have run over the years out of our living rooms and grocery stores to hide in bomb shelters from Hamas rockets. We have not had to send our children to war in hopes of securing a more safe home for ourselves. And yet, I think it is that very privilege that offers us clarity, that calls us to uphold a moral voice in this moment, to remind ourselves that the end goal of this war must not be revenge or teaching Palestinians a lesson or weakening their population. The end goal must always be peace, a lasting peace for the people of Israel and the Palestinian people. And that is why in this moment, I'm prioritizing the Jewish imperative to protect the sanctity of human life. And I believe that Israel must rise above some of its military goals, especially ones where the possibility of long-term success are so unclear. For those of us who oppose an invasion or any further destruction of human life in Gaza, now is the time to increase pressure, to make our voices heard. The second reason that this moment feels morally acute actually has to do with hope. It's complicated to talk about hope right now, but what feels like the most important glimmer of hope in this moment is the way that more people and more powers than ever before are beginning to say that the only option ahead is a two-state solution. For years now, people have begun to say that a two-state solution is dead, that it's impossible, that there's no will for it, there's just no way to make it happen. But suddenly that is changing, and not just from the left or from the right, but from various actors and power brokers all over the world. President Biden has called for a two-state solution. Leaders of countries from Jordan and Saudi Arabia, Germany, Australia, even China has weighed in. The potential of this political and financial support to put an end to the fighting, to bring aid and support to heal and rebuild Gaza, to help grow a different form of Palestinian and Israeli leadership, to do all of this in a way that ensures security for Israel, this support is unprecedented. It's an important reminder that this conflict is not uniquely intractable. All conflicts have required external pressure and support to end cycles of violence. Yet there are people who benefit from the perception that this conflict cannot end. Those who seek to continue this war are trying very hard in this moment to convince us that a two-state solution is not possible. I'm thinking today in particular of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's dangerous claim that to create a two-state solution now would be to reward terrorism. These are the words of a person who wants to continue cycles of violence to his own end, who has made it clear that he believes in entrenching a violent and oppressive status quo. The enormity of this situation is overwhelming, and yet it is extraordinarily important for us to see that we are not powerless. In this week's Torah portion, Tetzaveh, the Israelites are in the midst of building the Mishkan. The Mishkan is the first sanctuary, a portable structure of spiritual refuge and beauty built in the barrenness of a desert. The Israelite people are told to approach this project with great intention, and they are given instructions for a ner tamid, a lamp that is tended all day and all night throughout time to remind us of our highest values. They are told that when we build beautiful spaces in seemingly desolate places, that when we build beauty with intention, that we allow God to dwell on earth. What could it mean, despite the horrors of this moment, to think of ourselves as builders of beautiful, holy spaces? How can we look at the atrociousness, the terrible reality of this moment, and see that our job is to tirelessly insist that we can do better? There are already incredible people doing this courageous work of imagining a peaceful, shared future. They're putting their reputations and sometimes their lives at risk to build peace. These are the people who need our support. One helper who I've been deeply inspired by over the last few months is a woman named Alicia Laban. Alicia is an Iranian activist, attorney, and artist who is sharing some of the most nuanced content about this conflict that I have seen on social media. Even though she is not Jewish, she has poured hundreds of hours into modeling what it looks like to support Israel's existence and critique its government, and she has done the same for Palestine as well. Another helper is Gil Alexander. Gil is a religious Zionist farmer. He is so insistent that human rights takes precedence over claiming the whole land of Israel, that he spends his nights sleeping in Palestinian fields in the West Bank in order to help protect them from violent settlers. He has been harassed and beaten by settlers, but even so, he insisted on being invited over to those settlers' homes and explaining why, from a religious Zionist perspective, he believes in peace. Finally, the third group that I would like to highlight tonight, although there are many more, is the group Standing Together. Standing Together is made up of Israelis and Palestinians in pursuit of peace, equality, social and climate justice. They have come together tirelessly since October 7th and before to proclaim that peace and hope are more important than ever. They have been shamed by the right and shamed by the left for daring to work with the other. They are a model for the future of coexistence. And we at Temple Sholom have the extraordinary opportunity to learn from them. Israeli and Palestinian leaders of Standing Together will come to Temple Sholom on Monday, April 1st, to share their stories with us. The work that we are called to do, to be builders of peace, is hard. But we are called to do that work as Jews, and I hope that we are going to do it together. In our Torah portion, the people themselves had to tend the lights day and night. May we be those people, using our moral voices, not afraid to caringly critique Israel until there is light and there is peace throughout the land. Shabbat Shalom. We rise in body and in spirit and turn to Aleinu L'Shabeach on page 586.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. It's time for announcements.
On this Shabbat, this Saturday, at 1 o'clock, we're going to have a beautiful gathering of mindful Jewish aging. We'll be able to gather with others, including, we'll be led by Cantor Katzman, Deborah Paskind, and Andy Simmons. And so if there are those of us who want to mindfully age, and if we can watch this group and appreciate this group also gracefully age, then we'll join them on Saturday, tomorrow at 1 o'clock. It's mixed presence. Then on Sunday, as part of a series of how we are continuing to process life after October 7th, we are going to be hearing from an extraordinary reporter from the Jewish Daily Forward, Arno Rosenfeld, whose beat is anti-Semitism. Leave it to a Jewish paper to have a beat on anti-Semitism. We are grateful that he's going to help us contextualize anti-Semitism in today's world, be able to give us some historical background, and also help us to have a moment with him in conversation, and then for us to really spend most of our time in conversation with one another. It's in person only. It's happening here at Temple Sholem this Sunday at 1 o'clock. I believe people can still RSVP for that, so we'll look forward to seeing you then. And then on Tuesday, February 27th, part of this series also, again, being able to process life after October 7th, we're going to be meeting someone who is an Israeli citizen, Yarin Levin, who had survived the Nova Festival on October 7th. We'll be meeting with him at noon and being able to really learn from him on Tuesday. Please sign up for that as well, and we are still accepting RSVPs for that. On Tuesday evening in Mixed Presence at 7:30, we'll be hearing from our friends at JCOA more about Bring Chicago Home. It's an educational session that evening. And then next Friday and Saturday, I hope you will join us here when Rabbi Larry Hoffman is going to engage us in a beautiful discussion on how we meet this moment and also how we meet our future. We're very excited to be able to learn from him both Shabbat evening at Friday night and also Saturday morning at Torah study. So we hope to see you for all of those events and so many more.
I just want to say before we move into the next part of our service that I usually turn off notifications before I start the service, but I forgot to, and my aunt, who I love very, very deeply, and we very much politically disagree on so many things, just texted me, "I like how your hair looks tonight." So if you found discomfort in or want to talk about any part of my sermon, I truly invite you to either compliment my hair or reach out, and I would be so happy to discuss what I said. With that, we turn towards a moment of memory. where we call to mind anybody who we are missing, whose presence we would love to bring into the room with us. If there's somebody who you're thinking of tonight whose name you'd like to share out loud who has died in the last week, in the last month, in the last year, or in previous years at this time, I invite you to share their name as I pass my hand around the room. We add to those names Lori Renninger, Andrea Joich, Ann Goldsmith, Dustin Jopling, Clinton Krislov, Harvey Beam, David Leventhal, Saul Gantz, as well as Richard Sack, father of Scott, Julie, grandfather of Emma, Noah, and Ethan Sack, who passed away today. As well as those on our yard site list, John Barron, Eliyahu Bihar, Cantor Carey Ben David, Betsy Venice Paradise, Dr. Arthur Berman, Paula Bernstein, Saul Biskind, Marion Bloom, Warren Brand, Lou Brownie, Jack Kerrigan, Marie Cohen, Amy Doherty, Lawrence Elegant, Stephen Ewing, Clara Fairman, Andrea Ferris, Rita Fogel, Rose Cox-Frankel, Leah Gerlich, Morton Glisker, Barbara Dearborn Greenwood, Melvin Gross, Judith Halpern, Sylvia Hauptman, Selma Hoffman, Harry Howard, Leah Jaffe, Muriel Konitz, Leonard Levin, Edith Levy, Joshua Marimont, Faina Metushenskaya, Alan Moltz, Minnie Ginsburg Weiss Morris, Joseph L. Penn, Adele Rosenberg, Michael Rubinoff, Michael Saper, Robert Sheridan, Morris Schall, Ernest Spiegel, Theodore Stillman, Grace Torini, Robert Tarnoff, Ellie Teller, Dolores Trannon, Maxwell Vidas, Nick Wardy, Judd A. Weinberg, and Joel T. Weisbrot. May their memories be for a blessing. We rise in body and in spirit and turn to page 598 for our mourner's Kaddish.
Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agalau v'zman kariv yimru, Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach leolam l'almei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shemed kudashah le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'miran bi'alma v'yimru Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim alenu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Oseh shalom mimromav Huyaseh shalom alenu v'al kol Yisrael Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru Oseh shalom bimromav Hu yaseh shalom aleinu Ve'al kol Yisrael Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru Yimru Amen.
Please be seated. What are we ending with tonight?
Something traditional and hopefully familiar and comforting, and perhaps it'll flood some memories from another time when you got to do this. Page 626. Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu. Eloheinu K'moshienu, Micha Eloheinu, Micha Adonenu, Micha Malkeinu, Micha Moshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu.
Shabbat Shalom. May it be a Shabbat of hope and of peace. Please join us in Betty Port Hall for an oneg. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Finally here. Yes.
Arthur is declining.
Have a good weekend.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Obeying the commandment to rest.
Oh, Rika's here.
Even yawn.
Shabbat Shalom, Rika.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yeah.
Shalom, everyone.
Bye.
Hi.
Bye bye.
Shabbat Shalom.